Welcome, everybody. Oh, I got the finger. Like, go. Good morning. Welcome to Sexually Speaking. Y'all, guess what? In case you didn't know, it's Keisha's birthday today. And because you weren't on early, you missed me singing the happy birthday song to her. It was good. Just trust
me. It was awesome.
So
I gotta say, it was awesome.
It's an absolute honor and a privilege and a pleasure to have you with us again. We're going to have a good time like we always do. And what else do I want to say? Like, how are you? What's going on? Where are you in the world? How you feeling? So, Miss Sister Goddess, birthday girl, how are you this morning?
You know, I'm pretty freaking fabulous. If I don't mind, if I say so myself.
Toot that horn, baby. Toot it. Toot it.
Yeah, it's funny because I woke up and was like, oh, it's my birthday. I mean, it was my birthday before I went to bed too, because I went to bed, during my birthday. And it was just interesting. It was like, oh, it's actually like my body's birthday. And I was just really like aware that this body, this amazing creature, and I have been together now, we're celebrating 49 years. Oh my gosh. So
we're both 49?
We're both 49. Yeah.
I was 49 either.
Double 49s. I love it. I know. I can't believe I actually said that on a recorded device.
I have to look at my driver's license at least once a month. I'm like, what? I'm not buying it.
I think I've just let a number of people know that I'm actually older than them. So how fun is that?
Well, we're talking about sweet little lies today. Are you telling us a sweet little lie?
Oh, well, yes, I'm only 49.
Right? 35. I would have pegged her in the 30s for sure.
I appreciate that. It's funny you say that because there's like this kind of running joke in my family. And especially between my mom and I, for the longest time, my mother to me was like 35, right? Yeah. Even though she had me when she was like 26. So 35 came and went pretty quickly, but for me, she was just always 35. And then it was 45 for the longest time, and now, so this year we both have like landmark birthdays, or what we call landmark birthdays. And so it's kind of funny that we're going to do that in 2017. And so it is this interesting kind of energy around like the how old are you, the all of that, and that is a fabulous place that sweet little lies could come in handy. If I do say so myself. So for anybody who's joining us the first time, welcome and thank you. And wow, it is an honor and a pleasure to have you here on Sexually Speaking. We are having #NoFiltered conversations because we do call them unfuckable, unfuckwithable, unfiltered, unconventional conversations. Unfuck your life. Oh my goodness. And we are celebrating all things sex and the sex of everything. So that's kind of a mouthful. And today our topic is actually, we're going to play with Tell Me Sweet Little Lies. So some of you might recall that is a line from a classic rock and roll song, a Fleetwood Mac song, actually. And could it also be an invitation? And that's kind of what we're going to dive into today. We might be pressing a hot button here with sex and relationship because we all have some very interesting points of view about lies, whether they're sweet or not, whether they're little or big. So what does sweet little lies bring up for you? Have you ever told any? And do you choose to receive them if someone tries to tell them to you? And would you even know one if you heard it? So what is it that we actually are aware of with sweet little lies? And what is it that they can actually create if and when and depending on how we're willing to use them? And that, my darlings, is where we're going to jump off. So what does this bring up for you, Miss Rhonda?
It's such an interesting. I used to be of the of the assortment of people that it was like when people lied to me, it was like scorn and condemnation and how dare you, right? And righteous indignation and all that like drama. and thank goodness for the body of work of Access Consciousness and all the other studies that I've been doing, but it's like, we all fucking lie every single day. And most of us lie to ourselves and we're not willing to admit it, right? Like so I was like, oh, right? And so I have a very different point of view about lying now. I lie all the fucking time. because I'm choosing to do it from the space of consciousness, from the space of what will this create. And let me tell you, when I truth tell, people don't want to hear me, right? So I can see all sides of it. But yeah, I have a very different point of view now about lying. And for myself, when people lie, I am in allowance of it. And it's like, oh, okay, they required to lie in that moment. I don't need to know why. But I used to be very naive in thinking that everybody told the truth and everybody should tell the truth. And it's like, well, that was hocus pocus. So what about you? I mean, it's a really, lying.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was in that big, I could go into that category quite easily. I fit in there just really, really nicely. That, it was so the wrong thing to do. Yeah. And like that there was never a time that it was appropriate. You always had to tell the truth. And part of what I didn't realize was that actually was rather unkind in many circumstances, many situations. Because I was a bit of a superior bitch. I have been known to.
You too?
Yeah.
Add it to our resume. Likeness.
I know you can actually get gold stars for that, right? So part of what I began to get was, what was true for me wasn't necessarily always true for everybody or anybody else in the room or on the planet. And for me to go, there was a certain point that I started to kind of get where I would go beyond being in the space of kindness or being the energy of kindness with people, when I would something would trigger for me and I would have that need to, tell my truth and impart what I know is right and true and real and going on here. And more often than not, it created a mess. And it wasn't the kind of mess that actually allowed for growth or expansion or contribution. It was just this mess. It was yucky and sticky, and it was not a generative thing at all. And it was rather destructive in a hurtful way. So now, and especially like in relationship, I had the thing about like relationship was that one place that you should never, ever, 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 ever do that. Am I in a relationship right now? And so part of what I became aware of was that there was a whole lot more that actually went on in relationship with primary partner kind of relationships than not. And that was intriguing to me. So it wasn't like a voluntary shift initially. It was really a kind of well, this isn't really working, so what else is possible? And as I started to play with tools of enlightenment and evolutionary kinds of things, for a lot of it, there's still an emphasis. There's a lot of modalities that there's still quite an emphasis on. You have to tell the truth,
right.
No matter what, you have to tell the truth.
Right.
And the part that gets left out is what you're defining as truth and what you're aware of as truth can be so different from what so many other people actually are willing to be aware of, that it can actually be like lobbing a hand grenade into their world.
Absolutely.
So then, of course, I began to discover the tools of access. I heard Gary Douglas and I read some of his books, and I love the way he writes. And one of the first few books that I found, the very first one was Money Is Not the Problem, You Are.
Right.
And then I think the next one I read was Sex Isn't a four-letter word, but relationship oftentimes is. And in many of Gary's conversation, he talks about, the willingness to lie when you have the awareness that it actually can create more, that it can actually be a contribution. And that opened up a whole new space of playing with, so whatever I'm aware of, firstly, I don't have to like blurt it out and share it and, tell anybody else that they should be aware of it too. And what is real and true for me could actually just be real and true for me.
Right.
And I could let it contribute to me and not have an investment that it be the same thing for anybody else. And so it's been fascinating as I've played with being a radio show host and, being a facilitator and being a body worker, and with body work, oh my gosh, talk about learning how to keep your mouth shut. You know, working with bodies, and bodies are talking to me, to us. A lot of us are facilitators. We are familiar with that in some way, shape, or fashion. And working with bodies, you get a whole lot of information.
Yes.
And actually, a very small percentage of that information is really what the being is willing to hear, the person is willing to hear.
Right.
And so that was a part of my my learning curve. Because in my early days as a therapist, I did a very similar thing. You know, I would just impart all this information because I thought, well, you're coming to me for body work. Of course you would want to know these things, right?
Right?
Yeah.
Come on now, you know you do, right?
Yeah, of course, right? So then when we take this into sex and relationship, right? The holy grail, the sacred ground, the, you know, whatever you want to call it, it's really intriguing to me. I see people do relationship from some very interesting spaces and behaviors. And sometimes I notice people just lie outright throughout their whole relationship with each other. And then other times I see them like really play with this manipulativeness, the willingness to manipulate and be manipulated.
For the greater or
the greater, yeah. Like,
greater.
And it's actually something they'll play with, you know.
Right.
And that's part of where this sweet little lies energy kind of pops for me, is what makes a lie a sweet little lie, you know. And I'm fascinated by, we go into these kind of behaviors. There's certain people that we're willing to allow ourselves to do that with, and we're willing to let them lie to us. And so for the purposes of this conversation, for the parameters of this conversation, we are acknowledging that there are lies that are destructive. There are lies that are hurtful, and there are lies of omission, and there are lies that are just blatant, disrespectful. I'm bald-faced lying to you, right? And the energy of sweet little lies has something a little different to it in the you know, the word sweet. And what is it that we do or can do with the energy of lying that actually can be a contribution? And I wanted to kind of play with that, or whatever else comes up. It doesn't have to be that, but that's kind of where that's kind of where this energy sort of started for me.
Yeah.
So
have
you ever told any?
Huh?
Have you ever told any?
Oh, Lord have mercy.
And go with what you were going with too. Yeah.
Yes, but let's go ahead and just clear every point of view, every belief, every judgment, every decision, every projection or rejection you have about lying and what it means, what it is, all of that from any lifetime, space, dimension, or reality where you either perpetrated that, you instituted it, you defended against it, like anything you had to do with lying, lying, in any form or fashion, in any way, shape, or mean, would you be willing to forevermore revoke consent and withdraw all commitments and binding contracts to keep the judgment of it in place?
Yes.
In whatever way, shape, or form you do so, be willing to take a deep breath in, however you want to clear it, choose beyond it. Because again, you can't utilize lying to your advantage if you have a judgment about it.
Exactly.
And I know for myself, I've had people lie to me and manipulate me for the greater. I knew they were doing it to me. I saw it for what it was because I didn't have a judgment. It actually catalyzed and alchemized something different, and it propelled me into the space because they could see the greater possibility that I wasn't willing to see. And so that's the beauty of the willingness to be whatever energy. And today we're talking about sweet little lies, but like if you come at life and living and everything about your reality from the space of always desiring the greater, whatever that is, right? It may not look the way you think it is, but if you're willing to come at it from always the greater possibility, utilizing sweet little lies is going to come into play. And if you have a judgment of it and you're not willing to, you're always going to be in some form of limitation. You're not always going to be able to receive the greatest expression or get to the greatest outcome or get to the greatest ease. So I don't know about y'all, but I like ease. Y'all know that. Like, show me the greatest possibility with the greatest amount of ease, right? Like, hello.
Yes. and here's another thing too, and you're touching on this. I just want to put it in words too. Is we know that anything we resist, we're actually drawing to us even more.
Right.
So when we live from that space of, I don't do lies and I don't put up with lies and lies are bad and lies are wrong and la 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 la. Well, part of what that is setting up is more lies being drawn into your universe. Yep. So knowing that is also like, are you willing to acknowledge if you're doing that consciously or unconsciously? You know, are you willing to know if you've got some kind of resistance up to this lie energy? Because really, are you taking the lies personally? I think that's really like part of I get that that's like part of the precipice of this. It's like everywhere you're taking the lie personally and making the lie actually be about you, would you be willing to choose beyond that point of view?
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. If you lie to me, you're disrespecting me. Exactly. Yeah. Like, what does it have to do with you in the first place? That's the thing is like, because I was the one who was always very sensitive. And when people would do, it was always a personal affront to me and, you know, woe is me and all of that. And it's like, it has fucking nothing to do with me. I know that now, but I didn't know it for the longest. So what if people lying to you has absolutely nothing to do with you? That's a different possibility.
There's a great question. Yeah, look, like all of the times you have told lies, where was your motivation, right? Were you telling a lie because you were really concerned about something to do with the other person, or was it more about a judgment you had made about you that you were trying to either defend for or against, or you were resisting knowing it, or you were having shame, or you were having guilt, or you were having all of this whatever kind of crap that you piled onto yourself? Didn't it have more to do with where you were? So when you know somebody is going to lie to you, or when you know somebody is likely to lie to you, what if you could be willing to receive the lie and know the truth?
Yeah. Thanks, exactly, Lily. Lily's like, yeah. Right? And you guys have heard us. We're always using the word truth. So as people are talking to you, you can just think truth in your head. You'll get the energy. And when you perceive a lie, if you're willing to perceive it and receive it, simply ask, okay, what's the gift in this? What's right about this? Right? Rather than judging it or making the person wrong or making yourself wrong, which many of us do, show me what's right about this. Get the information. Yeah.
And we always talk about information. What is the information here? Like, what is it really telling you? The person might be telling a lie. What is that information that's being gifted to you? Is it awareness that, oh, this person is going to choose to lie? Okay. So you have awareness of where they're functioning from. Or is it, that they're telling you something got done and you're having an awareness that it didn't get done? Oh, okay. So I need to adjust my day or my schedule or the project. Are you willing to receive the information that is actually present in the lie? Yeah. And I think that's part of where the sweet little lie energy kind of can become fun. I notice that some people do these little funny voices when they're doing their sweet little lies to each other. And it's not that they're telling an untruth. It's that they're like playing with manipulating the energy. And that's something that fascinates me, is like, what would it take for lies to not be any different than anything else? And what would it take for us to allow ourselves to really play with those energies in a way that like could be sexy, could actually be a little turn on, could actually be fun? And this is not about making us into liars. So everywhere anybody might be having resistance to that, please know this is really an invitation for us to all look at where we have any stuff up about the energy of lie, the energy of lying. And if that is creating a handicap in our lives, then would it maybe be fun for us to let go of that, you know, and create something far more amazing than what we've been creating. So there was there was one story that I've heard, and there was a couple, a man and a woman. And the woman comes home and she has all these groceries, and she's bought, you know, she's been shopping, and she has all these things that she like took the time to consider her mate for, you know, when she was buying them. And so she's all excited, and she comes home and she brings the groceries in, and she passes through the whatever way where her partner is sitting and watching television, or he's working on something. And she's like, you know, I'm home, honey, and la la la. And he doesn't really respond in the way that she kind of wanted him to, right? And so she puts the groceries down, and she basically, and I'm paraphrasing, she basically goes to him and she says, there really wasn't quite enough excitement for me. And I'm going to do this again. Would you please show a little bit more enthusiasm? Right. So she goes back out and she comes back in. Honey, I'm here and I have all these fabulous things for you. And he's like, he gets up and he walks over and he looks in the goodies. And he's like, oh, honey, this is amazing. Thank you so much. And they have fun with it. And then they proceed on with their day, you know, and they take the groceries out. And, you know, I think he helps her put the groceries up. And that was one of the stories that I've heard that I'm like, oh, there's kind of a sweet little lie. It's not that he wasn't appreciative. So it's not so much that it was like going against how he actually felt. It was more that he was willing to like play along. Yeah. And it actually changed the energy and created something different for them, something that was much more pleasurable for them.
Yeah. And honored his partner.
Exactly. So for all of you guys who are playing with us live, are there things that you've played with? And it looks like Alan has shared.
Commented.
Yes. Okay. So he's done that with his partner, Bill, and he's asked him to come in and tell him how wonderful the house was after all the housework. Exactly.
Yes.
So what could that contribute to us? And are you willing to ask someone to tell you what you'd like to hear?
Absolutely. I think that's what really jumped out at me in the space that I'm playing in more and more is really, you know, all of this is an inside job for each of us to look at for ourselves, get clear for ourselves, be able to express ourselves, be willing to be and do whatever is required to have what we desire. Are you willing to ask for what you desire and require, right? And even if it's a conversation with your honey or your friend, or, you know, I really need you to do this for me. You be this for me right now, right? Would you be willing to like really cheerlead for me, right? Even if you don't feel for it. And what is that?
That is a very interesting energy.
Oh man, whatever that is, whatever's in place to ensure.
Yes.
Go.
When you ask, like, as we tie this into, or as we just allow it to reveal to us, really, the kind of, it weaves into that. Are you willing to ask for what you desire?
Yeah.
This notion that a lie is about accepting something you don't like is kind of this weird, it creates this funkiness is part of what I'm perceiving. And are you willing to ask somebody to lie to you?
Yeah.
Even if it's just a lie for where they are in that 5 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, like if I said, could you just tell me happy birthday? Could you just say happy birthday to me, please, so I can hear it? You know, like if nobody was telling me happy birthday, thankfully I have people telling me happy birthday, but like I would be willing to ask, could you just tell me happy birthday? You know, and whether you were in a mood to go, happy birthday, Keisha, you fucking rock, you know, or whether you were like, okay, happy birthday, Keisha. You know, that would be fine. It's like, am I willing to ask for that? Am I willing to ask my lover to tell me I look amazing?
Yeah.
And am I willing to ask my lover to ask me really sexy questions, or am I willing to play with the sweet little lies to create something
Alan
yummy?
typed in the chat room, thank you. What have we decided it means
Yeah,
to ask someone to lie to us? That's what I was looking at, Alan,
there it
because it's
is.
like, because if you ask somebody to lie, right, like tell me I look beautiful, tell me whatever, what I was for my, and this is for me, as I'm looking at this, it's like perceiving that it might be disingenuous. And it's like the word receiving, like, oh, like sometimes to receive whatever that is, even if I ask for it. And it's like, well, that's interesting. Who does all that belong to? But like, this is a really fascinating space. I'm having difficulty grasping whatever this is. So truth, is that actually my difficulty? No. Because I actually enjoy telling sweet little lies. I'm really fucking good at it. I mean, yeah.
I love what Wendy shared too. She says, ironically, my ex and I used to lie quite often, or my ex used to lie quite often, and didn't let, I think she's saying didn't let her know.
Her to know.
Okay.
Want her to know.
Yet if I asked him to just tell me something I needed to hear, he refused because he said it wouldn't be genuine. I love irony.
Right?
So isn't that interesting? That's a whole nother like side of this that's really intriguing, is like we would tell a lie before we would actually tell the truth, because the lie is what is more real for us. So that's like, that flips it on its ear just a little bit.
Totally.
Wow. So what does it mean if you ask someone to lie to you?
Yeah, what does it mean? Truth.
What do we know? Does it mean you want to be abused? Wow. Does it mean you're asking to be disrespected? Does it mean you are asking to be mistreated? Wow, there's some interesting stuff around there. Whee! So if whatever that's bringing up, and all of this interesting energy that's really bubbling and stirring, what are you aware of here? And would you be willing to choose beyond all of the points of view that are locking you into the place of not knowing what is real for you and not receiving the information?
Yeah, and I'm just gonna, because like, well, here's one of my capacities. So all the legions of entities that are in play here that are not allowing me to get a look at what everybody's hiding, right? Like there is so much hiding going on right now. I can't even get to some of this stuff, and it's not mine. I'm just aware of it. So all the legions of entities that you guys, any of you have invited, hired, brought in, to ensure that this never gets looked at, this never gets shifted, this never gets eliminated, transformed, activated, whatever it is. All you motherfuckers need to go, get out the way. Okay, y'all can come back to your people when you, but I got work to do here, so let me look at this.
They're doing a fabulous job.
They're doing a fabulous job keeping it very like convoluted, and it's like, hey now, give me a clear path. Holy smokers, wow.
Oh boy, it feels like if I'm, go for it. Anything.
If I ask that, feels like if I ask that, then I'm asking someone to control me. Truth, could anybody actually ever control you, Alan? Because I also get that being willing to ask someone to lie to me is a willingness to be manipulated in a way that will create most fun for the both of us.
That's yummy.
Yeah, so all the lies that are wrapped up in the lies and the asking of people to lie to you and all of the bullshit, it's like, do you guys see how like intertwined and warped this stuff is?
It's amazing.
So truth, show me the truth, and then show me where the lies are, and cool, does that actually work for me for them to lie to me right now? Oh, okay, cool. Or truth, does it work for them to lie to me because they can't handle what my response might be, right? Like if you get clear and present with where you are, get clear and present with where people are going to do what they do. They're going to choose what they choose. How you respond is up to you.
Yeah.
Right? And you don't have to make people wrong if you don't want to, but it's like, just, what's right about this? Yeah. Okay, cool. This motherfucker is intimidated as hell by me right now. Oh, okay, cool. How can I use that to my advantage?
Exactly. That's where we were going. How can you use people lying to you to your advantage?
Mm-hmm.
How much fun could there be in that? Yes, I love that, Alan. Universe, show me what the phenomenal, creative, juicy possibilities are if I would be willing to ask someone to lie to me. I love that. That is juicy. And yes, are you willing to use people's lying to you, or to allow people lying to you to work to your advantage? So what are some, I don't know if there are any particulars that come up, like, if you don't really want to go to dinner with someone, say you've made a date, and then something has come up and you're having, kind of weirdness around just saying, now it isn't going to work for me to go to dinner with you. And what if they call and they make up some excuse, or they have made up some excuse that they can't make dinner that night? They can't make the date, right? And so what if you just, we're like, oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. But for you, that really works, right?
Right.
And what if would you be willing to receive that?
Yeah.
Or would you be in judgment about what took place? Because I know people that would be the person who didn't want to go, but then when the other person called telling a lie, they would get offended, right?
Yeah. That's interesting, because back when I was online dating a while back, and like I said, I've been offline for quite some time, that happened a lot. You'd make plans with somebody, and again, I always trust my intuition, the energetic lightness, and there were times that I would back out at the very end, and I would check in. I'm like, okay, truth, can this person receive me saying I'm not actually interested anymore? Or does this need to be a fib or a little, a sweet little lie to be kinder, right? I would really get really clear. And it was funny. Some people, when I would cancel, would just go off on me. I'm like, well, there you go, right? Like, there was this knowing. And it's funny, right? And then when I would receive some of those, when they would say, oh, something came up, I would know that the lie was there, because I would get angry, right? Because when you're triggered, usually it's because there's a lie attached. And I'm like, oh, this person just didn't want to hurt my feelings, or this person didn't want to tell me that right? Mm-hmm. And usually you would never hear from the person again, or they wouldn't hear from me again. And so it was funny seeing both sides of it. And so, truth, are you willing to actually choose what works for you, whether it's a sweet little lie or it's the bold-faced truth? Like, mm-hmm. Would you be willing to choose what works for you?
Yeah.
Let the other person receive and do whatever they need to do with it.
Yes. And so a part of this, I love that you brought this in, is a lot of us, when we're having conversations with people, we might notice that we become irritated really, at some point, and it can be like out of nowhere, super fast. And in some cases we go to like what feels like anger. And so if you play with access tools, one of the first things you might do, and it doesn't matter if you've played with this tool at all, one of the first things you might do is just ask yourself, who does this belong to? Is this mine? What am I aware of? And if it actually is something that's bubbling for you, you could actually be aware of a lie energy that's been introduced to the conversation. Right. And that doesn't mean that you have to go into the anger of it. Again, this is just part of the information, this part of the way the information is being revealed. So what are you aware of is a place to kind of, maybe you could play even more. Wow, what am I aware of? And then ask some more questions for yourself. I would not advise asking many of these questions out loud when you wonder if somebody's lying to you.
Yeah.
So, when we're in awareness of whether it's a lie or not, we say, yeah, nice, exactly. Right. It's like, so it's have your awareness, and then what do I choose here?
Right.
You still have the choice. You always get to have the choice of how you then proceed.
Yes. And if you find yourself being triggered when you determine that people are lying to you, whether sweet or otherwise, the onus is on you to go within and say, what's triggering me about it, right? Like, is this actually mine? Is a great place to start. But if you determine that you really are triggered by people lying to you, be willing to just uncover the layers and, okay, what is this? Yeah. What do I do about it? Like, what is this is a brilliant place to start. And you'll get components of, oh, well, I feel untrust, right? Whatever comes up for you, and just keep clearing the components of that. And you will get clear and free that people can lie to you all day, every day. And you'll be like, okay, cool. No big deal. How do I use it to my advantage? Right?
Exactly.
How do I have to make money? How do I have the willingness to tell sweet little lies to other people and still have them pay me money?
Mm-hmm.
And you wouldn't want to play with that now, would you? That would make you what? What would that say about you?
So
the word filthy whore just I got no point of view about being a whore. None whatsoever. None.
Bring it. Pay me. What do you like? So for anybody that's got any stuff running, what goes on for you if somebody calls you a liar?
Yeah.
Like, what is it about that? You know, there's a show, I think, Pretty Little Liars.
There's a movie. Is
a
there
movie
a show
or
too?
a series? I'm not sure. I've not watched it, but there's all of these different energies around lying and being a liar. And it's really fascinating that it's like a place that we don't want to let ourselves go. And yet it's a place that we can actually have a great deal of potency. And what I see happen a lot in relationship is it actually is used more as something that we let it break down our awareness, our vitality, our knowing, rather than contribute to it. So part of the way I see a lot of people, and I've done this, use this in relationship in a not generative way, is we have our awareness about someone, but we deny that awareness. And then we choose things with them, or we proceed to choose things with them that we actually know are not really contributing to us. And then when we have confirmation of what we were aware of, we get into drama, So like you might choose to be with someone who is going to see other people, because I know that's a big hot button for a lot of us.
Right.
They're going to see other people. They're going to flirt. They're going to be looking for someone to play with outside of the relationship. You know it. And then when it is revealed that it's been happening, there's this breakdown. There's this, craziness that ensues. And then, of course, you have another choice. Do you stay in that relationship? And like part of the thing about lying is there seems to be this, it's not a condition. What is that word? I guess the frequency or the intensity of the lies is going to be relative to how much we are willing to acknowledge our awareness.
Right.
Because if we're not willing to acknowledge our awareness, then there's a whole lot more drama that goes on, because the lies just keep growing. They keep intensifying and they get more frequent usually. It's almost like that resistance invites more of the lie to show up, like we were saying a few minutes ago.
Right.
And I know a lot of people who are with someone, and I don't find that this is specific to either of the two genders. There can be men who do lots of lying, and I've known plenty of women who do lots of lying. So it's really nothing about gender. This is like an equal opportunity offender kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So what is it about our awareness in relationship that we're so quick to give up?
Exactly. Alan just typed in, how much is our anger at someone who lied to us, our frustration and anger at ourselves for not trusting our awareness that we knew they were going to do what they did and we knew they would lie about it? Yeah.
Precisely.
Right? How much do we actually cut off our awareness? Period. Question mark. How much, right? Exactly. No, that's brilliant. Hang on, there was a point. Come back. And I know my ex will never see this. In my marriage, now this was prior to my waking up and right, like I was in a committed marriage. Like I wasn't faithful. In this reality, I was not faithful. Now he doesn't know this because I was taking care of needs that I was not having met at home. This was about me. right? So this again, just for me, just for fun, never tell anyone. It was not against him. It was for me, right? So like I was living a lie, if you will, in terms of being a committed wife. It's like, well, not really, right? But it didn't have to do with anybody else but me.
Yeah.
Right. So I was willing to lie. I was willing to come home from a business trip. Right. I was willing to, because that actually was the kindest thing in those moments.
Yeah.
Right. And then at some point, right, I finally was able to come to terms with, I was living a lie. I had been unwilling to go against the grain, to say this doesn't actually work for me. Right. Like I had to do the work for myself and eventually walk away from that. And, 8-9 years later, I'm happier than I've ever been, and we're friends. He still doesn't know, and I don't intend for him to know, because I know this person, this human being. I know what his response will be. And I don't desire to.
Would it be a kindness?
It would not be a kindness.
Yeah,
it would not. Yeah, and I do not desire to inflict that upon him at all. Yeah,
and that's a beautiful example. Like when somebody is simply not in a space that they can receive the information, does a lie create greater? Only relative to the fact that if it was told, it wouldn't create more. Right? And that's a choice we get to make every day. So, sometimes that changes over time. So if you were to become aware that, the relationship you have with this person kind of moved into a different space or a different energy, and it became more relative to something you were creating with them, then you play with more questions, right? But I love that example. So, wow, this has gone in so many amazing places.
I know, and look at this. And on the flip side, if you feel the need to truth tell, who are you telling the truth for?
Great.
You or the other person. Exactly. Yeah. So everything this is bringing up, all the hot buttons, all the beehives we've stirred up, all the bears we've poked, all the snakes we've kicked, like all of it. Let's just take it up into a nice little package, and let's just dissolve and eliminate all of the sticky residue and all of the stuff that's like, I don't want to, this hurts, all of it. And let's just take a deep breath in.
Yeah.
Just blow it out. Be willing to choose through it and beyond it to the space of freedom, to the space of no limitation, to the space of true choice in every given moment. Yeah.
And I want to connect this to the bodies now. There's really like bodies are like, hello, could we have a turn? What are we willing to be aware of what the resistance of the lies does to our bodies?
Yes.
The ways that our bodies carry that information, and a simple, if you want to look up somatic psychology, this is something that this applies to. It's where and how we are taking that energetic, emotional sort of imprint and experience into our physical bodies, whether that's an organ or any of our muscle tissue or a particular part of our body, like our knees, our lower extremities, our upper extremities, our neck, our head, the places and the ways that our bodies take in the sort of the result of our resistance to lies or our resistance to something that we're aware of can create quite potentially catastrophic experiences for us.
Yeah.
So could we just maybe acknowledge what our bodies have been doing for us, the service that they've been doing for us? With all of this, if we've had lie experiences that we've been resisting, and if we have any points of view that we're going to be resisting any lie whatsoever, do you get how much energy is required from your body to maintain that rigidity?
Yes. And Alan, how many lies do we lock up into our body because we're unwilling to express them? Yeah, great point. Holy moly. So everything this is, let's just take a deep breath in. So because I know we're winding down, let's give some pragmatic tools
Yeah.
for people who actually desire to at least not have a point of view or a judgment about lying. They don't have to choose it. You don't have to choose it if you don't want to, but like, how can we help folks get clear around lying in general, so that you can have the freedom to receive them and not lock them into your body or lock your body up, right? And to give them if it would contribute the greatest outcome and possibility for everyone.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Truth. Show me. So I think a great place is truth. What does lying mean to me is where I would start. Truth. And I would write it down. I'm taking notes for the email. So what does lying mean to me? And everything that comes up, you can just say, okay, cool. I see you. If you pot it, access style, if you destroy an however you want to do it, just say, what does lying mean to me? Oh, it means I'm a whore. Okay, cool. Everything that is pot. Truth. What is lying to me? And you can just keep going and get to the layers. What else? What would you recommend?
Yeah, I love, if you want to do a spin on that, everything that I have made lying mean, that it isn't. And all of your awareness of that, you can just play with, take a breath, let it go, throw it out, whatever method you use to let go of things. If that's breathing, if that's meditating, if that's however it works for you.
Moving.
Yes. Hot showers, anything is on the bill.
What does it say about me if I lie is another good one. So what does it say about me? Okay.
And I love the energy, space, and consciousness questions just because they're fun for me. So this is sort of like a reverse psychology kind of fun thing. What energy, space, and consciousness can I and my body be to be the manipulative liars of magnitude we truly be?
Yes.
And there's another word that's asking to go in there, and I'm not quite hearing it. I got the energy of it, but it's like if you play with what would it be like to be this totally manipulative lying bitch energy or lying bastard energy, that you truly be. Part of what that's going to bring up is your awareness of everywhere you are not that. And it's going to bring up all of the places where you've been in resistance to being that actually creates a bit of a train wreck for you. So that's one that you can play with.
And everywhere you're not willing to be it, you're using it against yourself.
Exactly.
And the word that popped in was see you next Tuesday. The energy that I got.
Yes.
But I'm not going to put that. Y'all can decipher that for yourselves if you want to utilize it. I get there will be some offense to some. That's one of my favorite words in the world. I think it's one of the most beautiful words in the world, but it used to not be that way. But like what energy, space, and consciousness can be in my body be to be the manipulative liars of magnitude. And you can throw in other words if you want to. That I be. Yeah.
And I love what Alan's contributing some questions. If I didn't make lying significant and meaningful, what could I choose? If I had no reference points or history about what lying is or isn't, what could I choose? And I love this. If you never made yourself wrong for lying, what else could you play with? This is really about freedom. Everything we're talking about in the Sexually Speaking conversations is really about that freedom to be and express and receive more of you. And so all of these places that we lock ourselves up, consciously or not, we're still functioning from those spaces. And everywhere we're ready to change that, that's part of the invitation of what we desire to be creating. That's part of our target with these conversations. So if you never made yourself wrong, if you had no point of view about lying, what could you actually receive and create with the energy of lies?
What could you be, know, perceive, receive, and create?
Yeah.
Because I know for myself, I made the demand. I don't care what's going on in the world. I don't care what's going on around me. I desire to be in the driver's seat of my life. That means I want the information. I want the energy. I want the awareness so that I can pick and choose, right? As like the conductor, the orchestra, like I desire to have all of that. So I can see what the greatest choice is in this moment. And then when I make that choice, it's going to show me another possibility, right? But I desire, like, call me control freak of magnitude. I want all the information.
Yeah.
It's like a big old buffet. What are my choices?
Yeah.
Right?
And I'm going back for seconds.
Give me an extra help into that over there.
Oh, so what is it that we could play with? What can you be playing with in the coming days, in the week to come, that would allow you to see the lies and simply notice them with no reaction and just have your awareness? And would you be willing to play with the energy of sweet little lies? You know, even if it is something as ridiculous as, oh my goodness, I love that scarf on you. Oh my goodness, what a fabulous pair of shoes. You know, what could you be contributing to people? And part of this, and we didn't really get to play with this, is like, are you willing to be aware of what other people are desiring to hear?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what could that create? Like, it's not that it has to be untrue for you. Maybe a sweet little lie could just be something you hadn't thought of yet. You know, like if I was to ask you, could you just tell me you love me? Right. You know, you might not be totally in love with me and want to take me to bed, and that's totally okay. If you just said the words, you know what, honey, I love you. Could that be a sweet little lie?
Yeah.
And what could that create?
Man, I just had this image, and I'm a huge flirt. I mean, flirting.
Thank you, Ellen.
Like, I love it, and I know what it creates for people. I know when people flirt with me, what it does for me. But I remember, and this is I can not even on two hands, the number of times I flirted with older gentlemen in like a grocery store line or the post office. And I mean, these men might be in their 80s, right? These sweet little men. And I'm like, oh, honey, if I were just a few years older, right? Like, that's a sweet little lie, right? Like, oh, honey,
yes.
Right? Like, you know, and just it's from a very loving and joyful and playful place, and what it creates in their world, right? But that's a sweet little lie. I wouldn't do that, right? But that's what we're talking about. Like, are you willing to be the creative, generative energy that you truly be, that does light up people from the inside out with sweet little lies?
Yeah.
How much fun could you have with it?
Ooh, and there's an interesting energy of like this when we look at the polarity of things. You know, a lot of us have played in polarity quite a bit. Right. And are you looking for everything to either be true or not true?
Woo, black and white. Woo.
Dang. And if you are, would you maybe be willing to change that?
Yeah.
There's so much more possibility beyond right and wrong, truth and lie. If it's not a truth, does it automatically have to be a lie? If it's not a lie, does it automatically have to be true? And what's in between all of that, and what's beyond all of that you could be willing to play with? And that's really where the sweet little lies come in. I love that generativeness of what you're sharing too. It's like, what are people longing for? What are people desiring? And how aware are you of that? And how much capacity do you have to change dynamically, to change people's lives dynamically? And then, you know, what if your life changes in the process? Yeah, because it's really interesting that in the gifting of it, in the being of it, we actually receive.
Absolutely. Yeah, and what's showing, and Alan's got a bunch of fun stuff there, like, sweet little lies and pleasantries to get a good service or good discount for something, right? And so what's showing itself is, if you're not willing to consider playing with sweet little lies, I would look at yourself and, you know, really dig into, you know, what is that? What's really going on? Because what is that? That's a really interesting energy.
That is an interesting energy.
So everything that is, and because we're almost out of time, I'm just going to clear the energy and ask you to take a deep breath in. Let's move that through, and I wonder, I wonder, this is a really big, juicy conversation. There's so much here, and there's so many questions to play with. I would just invite, on the flip side, on the replay of this, that you guys really, if you desire to get free, play with them.
Yeah.
Play with the questions. Be willing to really go maybe where you haven't been willing to go before.
Yeah.
Because
And
freedom feels good, baby. Feels good. Feels real good. Sexy.
A whole lot better sex. It's way more sexy. And I love the contribution to Alan's question as well. Universe, show me everywhere I'm lying to myself.
Yes.
And if we're lying to ourselves, can we ever get free?
Nope.
How much choice have we just eliminated from our lives if we're lying to ourselves? And we are masters at that. So a lot of us might be lying to ourselves, totally not even consciously, cognitively aware of it. Usually that's the case, right? So are you willing to know where you're lying to you? And I would be willing to bet those aren't sweet little lies.
Not so much. They're usually very unkind. They're very harsh. They're very judgmental. They're very mean.
Yeah.
Stop that. Stop it.
So what if you told yourself sweet little lies? Would you be willing to flirt with yourself and let that be generative? You know, look in the mirror. I'm looking kind of.
I was dancing in the mirror the other day. I was like, "Ooh, honey, I was having a good time."
And it doesn't have to be not true for it to be a sweet lie. What if it could simply be the invitation to changing something?
Yeah.
How much fun can we have with that this week? Who knew sweet little lies would open up these doors?
We never know where we're going to go, right?
And if you've been lying to yourself and now you're going to decide you need to judge yourself for that, would you please stop it? I can't imagine. But I know there might be a couple of you out there doing that. Because I certainly would never do that. So. Oh my goodness. All right, folks. We are at pretty much a few minutes from our 1 hour mark because we did start a couple minutes after the hour. But are there any closing words, or you want to tell folks what you're playing with in the upcoming episodes of your fabulous Potency Is My Game?
I just want to thank you for playing with me today, birthday woman. I'm so grateful that you are in my world, that I get to play with you, that I get to know you, that I get to love you and receive the love and adoration that you be. So thank you so much. Thank you guys for tuning in. Tomorrow's show, Potency Is My Game, Wednesday, the 14th of December, is dissing your desire, snuffing your fire. It's December December. It's all about desire. It's all about pleasure. So come play. What are you talking about Friday?
Friday, I have a guest. I have Dawn Meyer coming on the show, and we're going to talk about bodies imitating life.
Ooh, fun. I love
some fun things that she's been playing with, and she's going to share some of that. So, join us on any of the replays for these shows. You can look in the text below this video and find ways to play with us even more. And you can come over to a2zen.fm and play with us on our radio shows. We both have shows on that platform, and we also have the list of archive shows that you can pick from as well. And there's a whole lot of awesome people who have shows on that platform. Alan Jones is one of them, on Playground of Possibilities. So just whatever floats your boat, lights your fire, flies your flag, would you be willing to play with it? And maybe, just maybe, if you could allow some sweet little lies to actually create more for you, or maybe even use some sweet little lies to create more for yourself and some others in the process, how much more fun could you have? How much more joy could you have? How much more pleasure could you be having? And how much more could you be enjoying the sex of everything? Oh, that's kind of yummy. I adore you. Thank you, Rhonda, for being, thank you for being. Thank you, everyone, for coming to play with us. Thank you for catching this conversation whenever you're catching it, live or replay. And what can we do to play even more, even bigger, create even greater in our lives, and whoever we want to share that with, So yeah. Happy, joy. Join us next week. We have no idea what the topic's going to be in this 10 seconds, but
we'll let you know. We'll be here.
We'll let you know.
Have an amazing week, friends. All right. Thanks for joining. We'll see you.